Welcome, everyone, to Season 4 of the Schaeffer Dialogues. Today, we're kicking things off with a deep dive into a really foundational book by Francis Schaeffer, Genesis in Space and Time.
That's right. And our mission, really, for this whole season is to unpack how Schaeffer approached Genesis. We'll be setting the stage using insights from Dr. Joseph R. Miller's work, too.
And Genesis, wow. There's probably no topic more debated, right? Creation stories, is it history, is it myth? Something else.
Exactly. It sparks so much discussion. And Dr. Miller's book, Set Apart, really helps frame this. He shows how Genesis isn't just another ancient creation myth. It stands apart because of its historical narrative style and its theological aims, rooted deeply in that Hebrew worldview.
Okay, so before we dive deep into Schaeffer himself, it's probably helpful to get a handle on the current landscape. You mentioned Dr. Miller has critiqued some modern creation models.
Yes, he has. Understanding these helps appreciate Schaeffer's context, even looking back. Dr. Miller identifies four main approaches people discuss today.
What are those?
Well, first, there's William Lane Craig's idea, the mytho-historical Adam. That sees Adam as historical, but maybe parts of the narrative have symbolic or mythological layers.
Okay.
Then you've got John Walton's archetypal Adam. Here, Adam is maybe less a specific historical individual and more of a representative figure for all humanity.
An archetype. Makes sense.
Third is what's called de novo monogenesis. This is the traditional view, really. A direct supernatural creation of one pair, Adam and Eve, and everyone descends from them. Dr. Miller argues this has been the church's main understanding for, about 2,000 years.
Historical view.
Basically, yes. And finally, there's Joshua Swamidas's genealogical polygenesis. This suggests maybe multiple human origins points, but Adam and Eve were specific historical figures whose lineage eventually includes all of us genealogically.
Interesting. So quite a range of views there. How does Schaeffer's core idea, Genesis as space-time events, fit into all this? What was his non-negotiable?
For Schaeffer, the absolute bedrock, the non-negotiable, was that Genesis 1 through 11 creation, Adam and Eve, the fall, these have to be understood as, his words, space-time events.
Meaning real history, actual occurrences.
Exactly, factual history that happened in, space and time, not just stories or metaphors.
And why was that so critical for him? What did he see as the danger of letting go of that historicity?
Oh, he saw huge implications, dire consequences, really. He argued, look, if humans aren't actually created in God's image, as Genesis describes, then what's the basis for human uniqueness, for dignity?
Right, it removes that inherent value.
It does, and he predicted this would lead to an erosion of absolute morals, even paving the way for inhumanity. He quite presciently saw the shift from Christianity to humanism leading toward, postmodernism, where reason gets demoted and things like euthanasia or abortion become thinkable, simply because there's no objective standard for human worth anymore.
And he saw a philosophical inconsistency, too, right? Accepting Christ's history, but not the fall.
Absolutely. He felt it was incoherent. How can you have a historical solution, Christ's redemption, for a problem, the fall, that you treat as mythical? It just doesn't track.
And he backed this up from Scripture itself, didn't he? It wasn't just his philosophical take.
No, not at all. He pointed out how other biblical writers treat Genesis events as historical. Think of Psalm 136, weaving creation right alongside the Exodus. They're presented the same way.
And Jesus,
too. He refers to Adam and Eve as historical figures. He even combines texts from Genesis 1 and 2 when talking about marriage, treating them as a unified historical account.
He also drew on literary analysis, comparing it to myths.
Yeah, using Eric Auerbach's work, Mimesis, he argued biblical stories just feel different from ancient myths. They have this quality, Auerbach called it being fraught with background, like something really happened, unlike the sort of detached feel of Greek myths.
So this historical view impacts our understanding of humanity, marriage.
The problem of evil, the need for redemption, it's foundational for all of it. Paul's argument in Romans 5, linking Adam's sin to Christ's righteousness, hinges on that historical reality.
But it's important to note, Schaeffer wasn't totally rigid on every single detail of Genesis 1, was he?
That's a really key point. He allowed for flexibility. He wasn't dogmatic that the days had to be 24-hour periods, for instance. And he acknowledged Old Testament genealogies might have gaps. They might not be strictly chronological lists.
So some interpretive room there. But where did he draw the line?
The firm line was drawn at what he called theistic evolution, especially if it meant compromising a literal historical Adam and Eve and a literal fall. He felt that approach risked undermining the Bible's claim to offer true truth, objective truth about reality.
Even if it's not a science textbook.
Right. He'd say it gives us adequate knowledge, true information about God, humanity, and the cosmos, even if it doesn't give exhaustive scientific detail. The historical and theological truths were paramount.
Okay, so bringing this all together for this season, what's the main goal for you, the listener, especially if you find these debates about Genesis, young Earth, old Earth, a bit unsettling?
Well, our aim this season is really for you, the Christian who holds the Bible dear, but might be disturbed by these ongoing controversies. Our conviction, echoing Schaeffer and Dr. Miller, is basically this: God wrote the book of Scripture and the book of nature.
So they can't ultimately contradict.
Exactly. There must be harmony between a correct reading of the Bible and a correct understanding of the scientific data. We want to explore that space.
So to sum up, Schaeffer's Genesis in Space and Time presents Genesis as real history, and he saw that as crucial for a coherent faith. Perhaps a final thought for you to consider is this: how might truly accepting the historical reality of Genesis change how you view human dignity, our purpose, maybe even how you approach ethical debates today?
Yeah, that's a great question to ponder. We hope you'll join us as we unpack Genesis in Space and Time chapter by chapter. And if you want to dive deeper into Dr. Miller's work on these origins models and related topics, definitely check out his website, morethancake.org.